Please let's welcome Jane Cohen. Ilene Cohen.
Limiting decisions have a lot to do with what we filter in and what we filter out, what we choose to filter in and filter out. They are what cause whatever is not working optimally in your life to occur. They're at the bottom of any dysfunctional pattern. How many of you, and I know probably all of you, have heard of the law of attraction that is talked about in The Secret and the Abraham Hicks work? Have any of you had any problem making the law of attraction work in your favor? Raise your hand. Yeah. And maybe it works well in some area and not so well in some other areas. Or it's harder to make it work in some areas. It's more of a struggle in some areas or other areas. Limiting decisions are what cause the law of attraction to appear to work against you rather than for you, because they cause what you consciously desire to be out of alignment with what your unconscious mind believes to be true. Our perception of reality is where our problems stem from, and it is where solutions can be found. So I'm going to say that again because it's so important. Our perception of reality is where our problems stem from, and it is where the solutions can be found. Solutions in life. Most people have areas in their lives that have been distorted by limiting decisions in which they experience life as not working. And if we look out into the world, we see the huge problems humanity is being faced with potentially disastrous outcomes such as global warming and global financial instability and persistence of terrorists and, you know, a number of different things that feel pretty horrendous. So from an individual to a larger global perspective, many people experience life as not working, but they don't understand how we are participating in creating this experience. And therefore, they're looking in the wrong direction for the solution. This new thought system, based on the principle life is meant to work, makes clear a reality in which life does work. I call this experience the real world, as opposed to a substitute world, which is what most people experience as what reality is. Moving from the substitute world to the real world is one way to describe the shift in consciousness that people talk about now. Have any of you heard of the shift in consciousness? I would think this group of many would have. It's often associated with the year 2012. Well, guys, here we are. It's 2012. We are what we've been talking about here now. The shift in consciousness is already happening. The reality held in place by humanity to a very large degree is based on the substitute world. And the cornerstones of that world is falling apart. For instance, the global financial structure. Old models of marriage and religion are no longer, people don't feel supported by it. They don't feel it's meaningful to a large degree. How one advances in the workforce is changing. All of this feels very destabilizing to people. But the reason that these are falling apart is because it is time in the human evolutionary process to shift out of the substitute world into the real world. It is basically shifting survival systems. It's not a small thing. There's a big reason why people are resisting doing it. It's a big deal. People don't shift out of an old survival system that they've been depending upon until it really doesn't work. And they can't even conceive of the new one as long as they're holding on to it. And what's happening now is that life is shaking people loose from it. And the more invested people are in the old way of doing things, the harder this transition is. If there are areas in your life that are not working, that means that there are limiting decisions there. And because there are limiting decisions there, in that area of your life, you're probably living in a substitute world, disconnected from present moment reality. The real world is a world in which life does work. It is what can be accessed when we come into the present moment experience. It is the underlying infrastructure for everything that is real, all that really exists. It can be found underneath the distortions of the substitute world when you go past the illusions of it. It is created by life, truth, love, spirit, consciousness, intelligence, principle. In other words, when you get to the bottom of any real experience, when you go past the manipulations and the distortions and the distractions and defense systems, to the heart of what really matters in any situation, this is what you find. You find what is true. You find consciousness. You find intelligence. You find what is living and alive. These are the basic building blocks of what is real. This is where all the potential of life resides. It's how solutions to any problem can be accessed. It is the way forward in the human evolutionary process.